peace and Yah bless. This is Yeremiah ben Israel, servant of Yah, the Holy One of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, I just want to bring y'all a quick overview of Yah's futuristic government that he was set up, okay, in the land of Israel once Jerusalem is established. So, I just want to go through this briefly and discuss the three levels or the three branches of government which will be set up in the land of Israel, okay, once we are established. And I know this looks familiar. If you read the book of Numbers, okay, the book of Numbers is the blueprint on how to set up a nationalistic government. And as you can see today, a lot of these nations have mimicked, okay, that blueprint on setting up their government. Okay, so, they have an executive. They don't really have a Levitical. That's what we will have. But they have a judicial system. And all this is mimicked after the outline that Yah has provided the children of Israel. Okay, when we were in the wilderness coming out of Egypt. So I just want to go over Yah's government, okay, that will be established in the future. And this is what we want to set our mind on, because we will have to eventually get some experience on how to become a nation once again. So I'm going to go through this briefly, and I'm going to also discuss the nation's outline. So this is Yah's futuristic government. Okay, he is the king, the only king, and besides him there is none. Okay, and right underneath, Yah will have the Prince of Israel, which would be of the seed of David today. All right, who will be raised up amongst his brethren. All right, like it talks about in Deuteronomy chapter 28, dealing with the curses. Yah said that, it has king mentioned there in Deuteronomy chapter 28, but it should say prince or governor or Tiashatha. All right, but Yah was going to send our prince or our governor into captivity with the children of Israel. Okay, so the prince will be overseeing all three branches of government. Okay, this is a big task. This is a big job. All right. So, I know a lot of people want to take on this role, but, are we really thinking about the responsibility that comes with this role? Okay. And, so it's a lot of responsibility. So, nonetheless, I want to get into it. The first branch of government is the executive branch. And like I said, you'll have the governor, the prince, okay, who will be overseeing that. Okay. And then underneath him, you'll have the council of elders. Pretty much the same thing in the wilderness. You had Moses, then you had the high priest line, okay, which was overseeing the priesthood. All right, then you had the 70 elders, okay, and underneath the 70 elders, you had the 12 princes, one for each tribe. So it'll be the same thing in the future. Okay, you'll have a tribal prince, or what they call today. For those who are in the United States, it'll be like a state governor or whatever. All right, but they will oversee each tribe. Each tribe will have their overseer, and above them would be the council of elders, and then eventually the governor. Okay, and the governor also will have his own cabinet of advisors. Okay, his own council. All right, that would advise him on national matters and international matters. Okay, so, he'll have his own cabinet of advisors, and below that would be the council of elders, which, like I said, if you look back in the book of Numbers, the 70 elders that govern the people and judge the people also, along with Moses and Aaron. And your 12 princes, one for each tribe, one out of Yehuda, Benjamin, and so forth. Okay, so, like I said, the governor will be overseeing that. Your second branch of government would be the Levitical government, the Levitical branch, excuse me. And the high priest of the seed of Zadok would be overseeing that. And right underneath him would be the sons of Zadok, okay? The priest line that would, be overseeing these three, okay? The three sons that come out of Lewi. Okay, you go back to the book of Numbers. I'll say you read about the sons of Kohath, Gershon, and Merari. Okay, and the duties they had on, the tabernacle, but today will be the temple grounds. Okay, and these sons of Zadok will be the ones that be teaching the people between the clean and unclean. And you can go read that in Ezekiel chapter 44, 45, and 46. All right, and as it was set up during the days of David, he set up the singers and the porters, the sons of Asaph. All right, so the high priest will be overseeing that, and the seed of David will be overseeing all three levels of government. All right. Okay, so it'll be no different. We'll be setting it up exactly the way David set it up during his days. Also Hezekiah. Okay, you read about Hezekiah. He was the one that reestablished the priesthood after his father Ahaz had shut down the temple. Okay, he closed the doors, barred the gates. All right, and Hezekiah was the one that reopened them, and he set up the Levites. All right, to reestablish the priesthood and to once again teach the people between the clean and unclean during his days. Okay, so they was going around ministering to the people, teaching them the laws. All right, so it's going to be the same thing. Okay, all right, the governor is going to establish all this. Okay, and Yah is going to, be the overseer of everything. All right, so that's dealing with the Levitical branch. All right, and coming over here, you have the judicial branch. Okay, which would be it would be it wouldn't be. It's going to be similar, but it's going to be a little different because this time we're going to have an international court. Okay, when coming out the wilderness, they didn't have that, so that wasn't mentioned in the book of Numbers. But we're going to have an international court because we're going to govern the whole earth. All right, and more than likely we'll have ambassadors coming out of this branch here, the international branch. All right, or the international court system. Okay, and this is just to govern other nations. A matter might be too hard for a nation to deal with. And more than likely, this would be of the priest line. They may have an ambassador sent to, around the countries, and they will be dealing with matters. Let's say a country dealing with a matter that may be too hard for them, then they will deal with that ambassador in that country. All right, and this will come forth from the international branch or of court. The international court system, all right, which once again the prince and the high priest will oversee. All right, so this will be dealing with the international court, and below that would be the nation of Israel high court. Okay, this would be for high matters. Okay, and once again, this will be appointed more than likely by the priesthood, the sons of Zadok. They're the ones that teach. They're the ones that judge. Okay, and it might be other ministers that might be in this council of the national court system. All right, so below that you'll have the tribal court. Okay, so each tribe will have their own little court system dealing with the laws. Okay, and it's just going back down to the bottom. Start at the bottom because, like I said, community outreach. This is going to be each one judging their neighbor. All right, so the community is going to judge each other according to the law, statutes, and commandments. All right, so everyone's going to judge their neighbor righteously as it states in the law. But if a matter be too hard for the community, then they'll go up to the tribal court. And, we will have two court systems within the tribe. You'll have a criminal and a civil, dealing with civil matters. So you'll have judges, within the tribe. Okay, and more than likely the prince of that tribe. Like I said, you're dealing with the 12 princes. Okay, like I said, it's just the book of Numbers is just a blueprint. Okay, and we're going to follow that blueprint. All right, to follow the layout that Yah's provided for us. Right, so the tribal court, they will be overseeing that. If the matter be too hard for the community outreach, and if the matter be too hard for the tribal court, to the nation of Israel high court. Okay, the international court wouldn't have anything to do with our nation. It's just on a higher level because it's more of a broad court system dealing with all the nations of the earth. That's why that's the highest level. But any matters dealing with the nation will go through the nation of Israel high court. All right, and it will be judged. That matter will be judged accordingly. All right, so like I said, once again, this is Yah establishing His government. Okay, like I said, Yah is the king. All right, there is no man kings, just princes and governors. All right, so this is how it will be set up. And while I'm doing this, I'm just going to once again go over the nation's outline. Okay, I went over this in the previous videos, but I'm going to go over it again briefly. I've added something, the most important thing I've added. to it. Okay, and that's number one, most and foremost, is the constitutional law. Okay, so like I said, law, statutes, and commandments is the first thing we need to establish. Okay, as a nation. All right, along with the judgments and the feast days and things like that. Okay, so going back to the old paths. Okay, reestablishing righteousness according to the law, statutes, and commandments. I'm gonna do another live video in the near future. All right, about kind of like the to-do list for the nation and things that we need to work together to accomplish. And this is why the wilderness is very important. Okay, because in that stage is where we come together. We do these laws as a community. Right now, we spread out throughout, even in captivity. We spread out. You got one here in the city, one there in that city. All right, but in the wilderness is where we gather together and we do these laws accordingly, okay, as a community. So I'll go over that later on. But the constitutional law is the first thing we need to establish as a nation together, okay? So second is the infrastructure, okay, because the first thing we have to do and the most important thing we have to do once we get our land and we established is to build the third and last temple of Yah. Okay, we're not going to do like Zerubbabel and Hoshea did, okay, where they were brought back out of captivity of the first Babylon to specifically build the second temple, okay, but they left off from building the temple, all right, and they went on to start building their own homes. It talks about this in Haggai, all right, and Yah was upset with them because Yah talks about how his place lied waste while they were dwelling in houses, in their houses. Well, we ain't gonna do that when we get back to the land. I don't care if we got to dwell in tents. All right, the temple of Yah is built first. All right, so that would be the first thing we do when concerning infrastructure. Then we can build our homes, we can build our schools, we can build roads. For those of you who've been to the land of Israel and the inhabitants of Yehuda, which is southern, what they call the Negev desert, it's a lot of places there that need to be rebuilt up. So we got to reestablish and build roads and bridges and things like that. Okay. Number three is production. Like I said, we're going to be the mass producer of all the nations of the earth. So we're going to be dealing with agriculture and harvesting. All right. Going back to dealing with livestock, planting, planting trees and stuff like that. We're going to have the best fruits. All right. The best of everything. Fabric design and things like that. We're going to have the best fabrics, and stuff like that. So, okay. And this is all what we need to be focusing on. This is why the wilderness stage is so important, because we're not going to just get to the land and know how to do all this. Okay, in order to and become accustomed to them, and we have to have go through the wilderness stage so we can gain experience on how to do this as a people. Okay, from this point on, there's no more self-preservation. It's all about community building. All right, we talking about building a nation. We ain't trying to look out for ourselves no more. Them days are over. Okay, we reversing the curse. Yah's in the process of turning Israel from the tail of the nations, and he's putting us up to the head. Okay, so ain't no more working for corporations, working for the oppressor. All right, we about building, okay, a community, learning how to be an entrepreneur. All right, generating wealth within ourselves. Okay, on a smaller scale in the wilderness, but it's going to be on a broader scale when we get to the land. So this is preparation. All right. Economics, number 4, micro, macro. Okay, micro is a smaller scale of economics. Macro is a more of a wider, broader scale dealing with a nation. Consumption of goods and services. Okay, gross domestic product. Okay, we got to become accustomed to this, because we ain't going to be borrowing from nobody no more. We're going to be lending. And in order to lend, you have to know what you're doing. All right, dealing with going back to natural currency, or natural commodities, should I say, other sorts of natural commodities, going back to weights and balances. All right, flip over, distribution, learning how to import and export. Okay, transportation of goods and services, going back to doing that. All right, and with that is ships and navigate river routes and seas. You see Solomon did this. Okay, where they would send out voyages, ship right off the coast of Ez and Geber by the Reed Sea. Okay, not too far from where we at right now. Okay, what today they call Elat. All right, but Solomon was shipping, going through every 3 years, shipping off, his ships, and they were bringing back gold, silver, and all different types of exotic animals. They would travel and navigate in the world. So, I mean, it might be more of a futuristic way. Maybe we might still be using planes, but it won't be as detrimental. We're gonna get into that as far as energy management, but we're gonna have to learn how to distribute. Okay, this is stuff we gotta learn. All right, we don't know this because after a long captivity, we haven't come accustomed of dealing with these matters as a nation. Education, most definitely, schooling for children. Educating our children is the first step of education. Is very important. And the first thing we're going to teach them, we got to teach them is the constitutional law, which is the law of Yah. All right, teaching them basic mathematics skills, the Hebrew language that Yah is going to bring forth, and teaching them our history, the history of Israel. All right, trade schooling. Okay, now I know a lot of the Gentiles and a lot of other nations are going to be building for us. Okay, but in order to oversee, in order to be a good overseer, you have to understand the craft. You have to understand what's going on. Okay, so if you oversee agriculture, all right, the other nations might be herders or whatever and dealing with livestock. You have to understand livestock. Construction, building, you have to understand that. Plumbing, electrical work, culinary arts, not so much. You know, women can do that. Learn how to cook. Teach your daughters how to cook. Fashion design and definitely health. And we're gonna get into that next. And might as well get into it now. So number 7 is health. Okay, nutrition, dietary law is most important without a doubt. Okay, a lot of people today doing their own thing. They adding and subtracting to the dietary law. Okay, we not doing that no more. All right, herbalists. Okay, learn herbalism. Phytotherapy, the study of plants, so you know which plant heals certain parts of the body or whatever. So it's good, to have that. Okay, in our nation, because like y'all talks about over there in Isaiah chapter 33 in the back end, that there ain't gonna be no more sickness. So in order to to have that, we have to understand how to deal with different herbs and cleanliness. Okay, cleanliness, laws of uncleanness, most definitely. Okay, we have to learn how to cleanse ourselves. When we are unclean, we have to go through the proper protocol of cleansing ourselves. Hygiene, we ain't gonna have no dirty people. Okay, but we have to work on being holy. Okay, and bringing forth holy children. So I mean, we have to be able to, to understand that taking care of our body is very important. And with taking care of your body is, disease prevention. You get what I'm saying? You prevent diseases and things like that. So definitely going to be dealing with hygiene and stuff like that. Law of purification is more for the priests. Make sure they purify to do their duties. Okay, you got the Kohathites. Okay, that deal with the holy things. Okay, they don't put the sacrifices on, but they deal with the holy things. They deal with the, they clean the holy things. The holy tables, the plates, the spoons, and all that stuff. They have to touch. So in order to touch that, they have to be clean. Okay, and then you'll have the sons of Gershon, the sons of Merari. They'll be dealing with temple ground, so they still have to be clean. They'll have a, I'll go into the priesthood later, but just to give you a little quick overview of that, they'll have their little rotation. Okay, they might be working certain days a week. They might be on the job for only a certain amount of years, and then they'll rotate. Want to make sure that we get as many of the Levites working on that temple grounds as we possibly can, and that'll go on forever. So we just want to have a nice little rotation of that, even with the sons of Zadok putting on the sacrifices and things like that. So, I don't want to get off track, but law purification is very important. Okay, aromatherapy is very important also, but people are already doing these things. We're starting to get away from the corporate byproducts, body products, whatever. Dealing with natural soaps, toothpastes, shampoos, hair products, body lotions. This is this type of stuff we're gonna be selling in the land. There ain't gonna be no corporations selling poison and stuff like that, and anything that's detrimental to the human body. We're going to be dealing with midwifery. All right, we ain't gonna be going to no medical industrial complexes. Them days are the nation of Israel gets established. So with midwifery, we're going to be dealing with pregnancies, childbirth, and most importantly, the law for child after birth. Okay, so women need to understand that law. All right, and then dealing with female services, like I said, have things set up to where we could probably have the midwife teaching other women how to deal with pregnancies and dealing with services, learning women learning how to take care of their bodies. Number 8, law enforcement. Okay, like we went over, dealing with the three branches of government. We'll have an international court, a high national court, for the nation, a civil court, okay, for civil disputes or whatever. Because you still gonna have that going on. All right. Like I said, the law gonna be written in our heart, so sin will be restrained. It'll be minimum. Okay, so this is just these will be set up just in case or whatever. So we have a community outreach. Like I said, most importantly, a community outreach. No one should be breaking any law that should get past this stage. Okay, like we've been talking about over there in the branches of government, community should deal with it straight up. It shouldn't even go to a tribal court. Okay, if it goes to a tribal court, then you got a problem. Okay, before it even gets to and if it's too hard for the tribal court, and you got to go to the national high court, you really got a problem. Okay, more than likely you're gonna be getting dealt with. So that's probably something that it might be that way in the beginning, but because like I said, sin is not going to be, it's never going away. Okay, we always going to sin to a certain degree. Okay, so but it should never get past this stage. If you get past community outreach, then you got some problems. All right. So number 9 is property management. Like I said, we got to reestablish the national borders. It goes all the way up. I think Lebanon is going to be ours, and parts of Syria, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, and it's going to go back past the Jordan, so we're going to have eastern side of the Jordan also, going all the way down to the Red Sea and over west far as the river of Egypt, which today is known as the Wadi al Arish. I hope I said that right. But the river of Egypt. Okay. So that's then dealing with the tribal borders, making sure the inheritance of each tribe is lined in order. Okay, this you can go read this in Ezekiel chapter 47 and 48. Dealing with temple grounds, learning where the sons of Zadok is going to stay, in their inheritance, and the rest of the Levites. Also, the prince, the seed of David, will have inheritance on both sides of Jerusalem. Okay, he'll have it going border towards the Mediterranean. Also, he'll be bordered towards the Jordan River. All right, laws of inheritance, most definitely, and this is dealing with individual families, like it talks about in the law. Okay, if a man have 2 wives, okay, because 2 wives is lawful. Okay, but I'm not gonna get into that. All right, if he has 2 wives and he loves one more than the other, not hate, we don't hate each other. Okay, but if his heart is towards, all right, the woman who bare the second born, even though his heart is more towards her, he cannot bring his second born son over the firstborn. The firstborn son has to have his inheritance. So that's pretty self-explanatory. If you study the law, you know that. All right, law of the Jubilee is most important. A lot of people don't understand the Jubilee, but I'm gonna just give a quick example. Like when you're selling a property, okay, let's say, okay, you want to sell a house and it's 40 years, until the Jubilee. Well, you will sell that house at a higher price than you would if you was going to sell it, let's say, if it was 10 years until the Jubilee. Sorry, so the closer it is to the Jubilee, you sell it at a lower price. The further Jubilee, you sell it at a higher price. Okay, and then like I said, everybody returns back to their inheritance, during the Jubilee. All right, so you can go to the book of Leviticus. I think it's 25, if I'm not mistaken, or 20, 23, 24, 25. You got to go back and read that. All right, but community development. Okay, so we're gonna be building communities and stuff like that. Like I said, the land of Yehuda. It's a lot of desolate places down there, down in Mispeh Ramon. All right. I don't know if I posted a video, but it's a video in Mispeh Ramon that I have that's is overlooking the crater. Okay, and it's a lot of land down there that needs to, cities need to be built on it. Okay. So so community, building nice communities, safe communities, clean communities. All right, number 10, energy management, dealing with solar energy, hydrogen, wind energy, and some form of telecommunications. We don't really know how that's going to go. Maybe y'all might keep some things that they got today, just be less detrimental, more safer. Should I say more safe than it is today? Less harmful to the human body. No 5G and stuff like that. It's so strong. It's killing birds in the sky. I read an article about 5G, is just that strong and that detrimental. All right, so 11 is waste management, dealing with water management, stuff like that, making sure we got clean water, trash disposal with this, okay, because we're not going to be having trash around the land, and it will be a hefty fine for anybody who is loitering and misusing their trash disposal. You'll definitely have to, you'll be held accountable for that, without a doubt. Um, because like I said, with trash, it brings pestilence. It brings, that's how you have diseases and stuff like that, and flies out. Flies and stuff like that. Have a nice clean land, and that's all throughout the borders of Israel, not just in Jerusalem. We're gonna have a clean land all over. Okay, except for I think it's gonna be a place set aside for the clean stuff. Maybe dealing with trash. I can't be on the streets and stuff like that. Because if you go to the land of Israel, the way the Edomites are running it today, they don't value the land at all. Okay, they have a lot of, there's trash around, there's a lot of dung and stuff like that. They let dogs, they don't clean up after themselves. Just filthy people, okay?